Today on FiveEyes.tv I will be speaking with Nigel Ryan, who is an arts entrepreneur. Nigel, welcome to FiveEyes.tv. Nigel, where do we start? You have such a diverse background and an impressive CV. Even now you're involved in many things. I think let's talk about Creative Reach Consultancy. How long have you been a director there?
Okay, Creative Reach is a new agency that I set up about a year ago. There are three partners, three co-directors, and we all have different areas of expertise. I'm a visual artist and architect and graphic designer as background, and the other two partners, one is a publisher and writer, and the third partner is a public arts specialist. So we kind of cover all the genre that we need to in terms of working within the arts for all our potential client base.
So what does Creative Reach Consultancy actually do?
Creative Reach offer a service for anybody from local authorities to individuals to corporates who want to promote their involvement in the arts and culture. So, for example, we're working with Southern Railway, who have introduced the concept for bringing art onto the railway network, which is something that doesn't happen currently. There's lots of advertising, lots of things on the rail, but no art per se. So we've just managed to secure an arrangement with them and a partnership agreement where we'll be putting artwork on their network, which is really exciting because it's all going to be local art, emerging artists, professional artists, and creating a platform, excuse the pun, for artists who at the moment are struggling because our art galleries are closing down. I used to own 3 art galleries, and I don't now because the market just isn't there for the sort of retail art environment. Everything's online. And again, excusing the pun, but by introducing Art on the Line, which is the brand name for the concept, we're allowing a lot of artists to get the exposure that they need to survive. We work with local authorities, we come up with concepts for them because we work in education, we work in health, and we work for businesses. We basically approach everything we do, every project we do from an arts and cultural standpoint. I don't know if you're aware that the creative industries are the fastest growing sector in the world at the moment. The creative industries bring in 17 billion sterling to the UK alone. I'm from St Lucia, and in St Lucia we've just appointed a minister for creative industries on that very basis. People are recognising that the creative industries are important to the economy. It's not just about painting pretty pictures or taking lovely photographs. It's PR, it's architecture, it's photography, it's film. All those genres are involved in the creative industries, and they make a lot of money for economies.
You just mentioned St Lucia. Can you tell me about St Lucia's arts and culture?
Basically for the last 5-6 years I've been promoting St Lucian artists, writers, painters, sculptors, photographers, filmmakers, with a partnership through the St Lucian High Commission, which is in South Kensington, and they've got a very impressive venue there, quite a bit of space, and they've been very generous in allowing me to use that as a venue for promoting St Lucian artists. So for the last 5-6 years, like I said, I've been doing everything from book launches to sculptural shows to painting exhibitions, and the most recent event was a film viewing of one of our St Lucian filmmakers. And it's very promising because, again, linked with the fact that we now have a Minister for Creative Industries, it's a very important facet of our economy, the whole promotion of our arts and culture, because it's linked to tourism. A lot of people love going to St Lucia for the sun, the sand, the sea, getting married, whatever. But it's another level, as far as I'm concerned, to the offering that we can give, because we're just one of many islands in the Caribbean that have the sand, the sea, the sun.
Definitely, yeah.
But culturally, and the fact that we're the only island in the Caribbean that has a Nobel laureate for the arts in Derek Walcott means that we have a lot to shout about. So,
how did you come up with the idea of using the High Commission? Did you go on holiday out there?
Well, as far as I can remember, I've been going back to St Lucia every year, because although I was born there, I've been in England for a long time, and I've just felt the only way to keep the linkage and the connection with my birthplace was to go back as often as possible. So in that time, I've made connections and links and associations with most of the prominent artists, painters, writers, and so on. But I've also been very very involved in the St Lucian community in the UK, so I've always been a friend, if you like, of whichever High Commissioner's in post. They tend to be in post for 3-4 years, and I've always kind of worked at trying to get them to embrace the whole concept of using their very prestigious, very impressive venues to promote St Lucian art and culture. And I think it was only in the last 5-6 years that I think the 3 High Commissioners back, I was able to get an agreement from them that I could use the venue as a base for promoting said art and culture. And it's just gone from strength to strength. So now it's a regular thing. I can walk in anytime, arrange, plan. People phone me up if they're coming over, or if we have local St Lucian artists. We just get on with it. So I can just make a phone call and say, right, I want that date. The staff is laid on. The High Commission will then contribute to food and drink and so on. And it's great. It's a very unique concept, because as far as I'm concerned, most other High Commissions don't do it. And I'm really hoping that through what we do at the St Lucia High Commission, other commissions will look and think, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, because it's actually win-win. You're helping them and they're helping you and the community.
It's a win-win. Unfortunately, High Commissions and High Commissioners don't have what I'm doing on their agenda. It's not in their remit. So I guess for them it's another job. Whereas what I try to put across is the fact that I do everything, and I'd like to hope that anybody in a similar situation for the Jamaican High Commission, the Nigerian High Commission, would equally do the same. I'll give you an example. A very good friend of mine is the Latvian cultural attaché, and she's been at that for 8 years now. And she started off working from her home promoting Latvian art and culture. But this year, Latvia's capital, Riga, is going to be the city of culture, which is a hugely valuable asset for any country, because it puts them on a global stage, makes a lot of money for them, it's great for the economy. And what I'm hoping is that St Lucia and other Commonwealth countries will see that sort of benefit and embrace it and start doing a similar thing. But it's taken her, my friend, Elena, 8 years to get there, and I'm hoping that we don't need to take so long to actually, achieve the same sort of success and outcome.
So, do you actually put on exhibitions?
We put on exhibitions in St Lucia and here. Last year I was in St Lucia twice. I was there in March and I was there in November for 2 separate exhibitions. In November I was there for an exhibition by a St Lucian painter who was actually a stroke sufferer, and during her period of recovery she took up painting, and she feels that the painting actually brought her back to full recovery. And she's an amazing painter, and I think the whole experience she had is testimony to the fact that my passion for the arts is worthy, because I think more people need to be appreciating, valuing and get involved in their artistic side, because it does all sorts of things, and for her it brought her back to where she used to be.
You seem like such a creative person. Do you also paint?
I do paint. I do figurative art, which is essentially painting nudes. So there isn't a huge market for my work, although I do sell a lot of work. And I'm quite contentious in St Lucia because it's a very Catholic country. And I think I've gone down in history for having one of my exhibitions during Easter in St Lucia. which caused a lot of uproar and lots of headlines in the newspapers and lots of banners and so on. On the flip side, I sold all my artwork, so it was a really successful exhibition. And it's a shame because what I do is very tasteful. It's not pornographic. It's very, very tasteful, and I never quite understand why there's so much contention about the fact that I try to celebrate the beauty of the female form. It seems such a natural thing to me, but hey ho, I guess each to their own.
This is Paulette on Five Eyes TV Profile speaking with Nigel Ryan. Let's take a break. Tell me about this picture on the wall.
Okay, this is one of my favourite pieces. This is a photograph taken by a friend of mine, Danny Devoe, who's a very prolific St Lucian photographer. And this is a picture of Derek Walcott, who is St Lucia's Nobel laureate, and Seamus Heaney, who's an Irish Nobel laureate, both of whom have their work on the national curriculum in the UK. Very prolific writers. And this is actually at Derek's house in St Lucia, and they're both discussing one of their projects, which I went to see a few years back at the Globe Theatre. Derek is also a professor at the University of Essex, where he visits every April, May for about 5-6 weeks. He generally performs one of his new or revamped plays, and it's generally to a full house because he's, as I say, he's a very prolific writer and author and poet.
You went to Guildhall University. What did you study there?
I actually studied furniture design because I love the concept of furniture and the aesthetics of furniture and the whole fact that in fact I just love design per se. The fact that everything in this room, everything around us has been designed, and furniture was something that I really I felt I had an affinity with because there's so many beautiful pieces of furniture. I'm really into Italian furniture, Italian design, and so I studied furniture at Guildhall. That all went well. Then I moved on to interior design. Then I moved on to architecture, and now I kind of figure I'm a pretty comprehensive designer across the board.
Yes, definitely. You were born in St Lucia. How old were you when you came to the UK?
A personal question, that, but I was 3 when I came to England, so I've been here for a few years.
Right. Well, I'd like you to tell me more about your background.
Okay. Well, I was born in St Lucia. I came to England in the '60s. Classic story, and lived in East London, Islington, Hackney, Clapton, and went to a Jewish grammar school. I went to the Grocers' Company Grammar School, which was one of the few grammar schools around at the time. I think at least my mother had the foresight to consider what my future would hold, so she got me to take the 11+, and I got in, and that was all good. Had a good time there, and came out with a few A-levels, and went on to the Guildhall to study furniture design, and I guess the rest, as one would say, is history.
So how did you actually move into the arts field?
I think I've just always had an aptitude and a talent for drawing, painting, illustrating, and kind of thought, well, if I'm going to do anything, if I'm going to make a career of anything, I may as well try to make it something that I love and enjoy. I think, fortunately, I had the wherewithal to see that from the early days, as opposed to getting into something that just made money and you didn't really enjoy. So that kind of moved me towards design and the arts and architecture, and so I've always been pretty good on the artistic and cultural front.
But you seem to have such a passion for art.
A huge passion.
When did this develop?
I think it developed because I realised that as a St Lucian, as a black man in a white environment, growing up, I didn't really see that many black faces. I didn't see that many people I could home in on and say I can relate to him or her. And I always felt I'd quite like to be that person that my children and my people could look up to and think, well, he's in an area where we're not big in. We're not, he's not a footballer, he's not an athlete, he's not a musician, he's not a singer, he's an artist. And that's not typical. And I think that kind of was one of the inspirations for me, to be in an area where I couldn't see I had any people to focus on, and I wanted to be that person.
Because I was going to say, where did you get your inspiration from?
Well, the inspiration for me was quite easy, because one of the things about St. Lucia is that we are the only Caribbean island that has our Nobel laureate for the arts, which is, who is Derek Walcott, who won his Nobel Prize for his literature. And I'm really proud of that, because I think there are a lot more St. Lucian and Caribbean and African and black artists across the board who should be getting Nobel Prizes, who should be rewarded, who should be recognised for their work. But sadly it doesn't happen for whatever reason, political, whatever reason. And that's been an inspiration, because I think the more we make our mark in different areas, I think the better it is for our kids, for our grandchildren, for the community at large to actually appreciate us on a different level. Yeah. On a different level. I think it's really important that we aren't just recognised for the obvious things. And I think we all know what we're talking about. There are lots of things that we do out there, and people don't seem to get it. Yeah, well,
they don't seem to know about it.
They don't know about it, and I think the more, and I'm a shouter. You can't ever see me in any environment with my mouth shut. I've got to talk. I've got to communicate. I've got to make people know what's going on, because it's important. There's no point being in any environment, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not going to talk to the person that's standing next to you, or communicate what you do, learn what they do, get something out of it.
This is Paulette speaking with Nigel Ryan, an arts entrepreneur. We'll be back shortly. You have 3 children. Are they interested in art?
They kind of are. My daughter is an actress. She's in New York at the moment. My son is in the leisure industry, although he trained as a lawyer. He's in the leisure industry and runs nightclubs very successfully in Brighton. And my youngest son, who's 14, is a budding thespian. He's into drama, doing very well. He's with the Guildhall Academy locally, and is taking endless exams to achieve his aim of becoming an actor. So yes, they're all artistic in their own way.
Well, so really, they're following in your footpath. May not be, so focused as what you are, but
well, hopefully they'll. It takes time. I wasn't always this focused, and I think eventually you get there, because you need to have a reason for being as focused as I think I am now. And there's lots of reason to be.
You are a member on many boards and committees. Can you tell me about them? When did this all start?
I think that's another passion. I think I feel I need to represent my people on committees, on commissions, on boards, because I've spent my life being one of few, and I think that also has to change. I think our people, my people, need to understand that there's no point whinging and moaning about situations if you don't want to do something about it. And I think the only way you can do something about it is, as the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. So I join committees, I join boards. I've recently been on the board of Age Concern, which isn't very heavily represented by people of colour. I'm an arts commissioner in Brighton and Hove. I'm on the board of the local sixth form college. I'm a founder member of a group called Arts Inc., who are a group of black artists and cultural exponents who are trying to redress the balance of diversity in the arts, which is very imbalanced, very, very imbalanced. I think I try to do my bit. I try to encourage my friends and associates of colour to do their bit, because I think it's really important for us, for our children, and for the environment we live in, to understand that actually we can do stuff.
Just want to go back a bit. You mentioned about redressing the imbalance. So how are they trying to do that?
I think just by being active, by being vocal, by being a part of a lot of groups and associations and committees and so on that one would generally feel are not places that people of colour are generally involved in. I think just to help people who aren't of colour understand that actually we can say the same things as everybody else. We are as intelligent as everybody else. We are as significant, as important as everybody else, and you know we can do it. I think it's more about just creating a balance.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make any massive statement or you know beat any drums. I'm just trying to say, look, you know, I've been in this country for 50 years. As far as I'm concerned, I'm English, but I just happen to be of colour. So I think it's important that people accept me as an Englishman who has a pretty nice tan. And if I can contribute to the community I live in and say things that are significant and have impact, then I think it's important I do that. I owe it to myself and my community.
Well, what message would you give to anyone trying to build a career or business? You know, throughout the years you've obviously got involved in different career paths and set up businesses. What advice would you give?
I think you need to be patient, you need to be focused, you need to be professional. You need to be very professional, because I think these days professionalism is something that is lacking in a lot of areas of work and business, and I think it's really sad. But I think focus and commitment, passion, and I think you need to be confident that what you're doing has merit and actually is worth doing, because quite often I've been involved in businesses and ventures that I didn't really do the research on, and lost a lot of money, lost a lot of time, lost a lot of impetus, and I've then had to close that down and move on to something else. Not had to, but that's the way it's moved on. And I think the key is to do your homework, make sure that you know what you're doing. You can't say could ever is going to work, but has a good chance of working, because otherwise you're just going to waste your time and your money. And it's important that you don't. You've got to try and at least make a success of it. And always have an exit strategy. That's the other thing I would say is very, very important. The one thing I've learned, and now I don't start any business, I've got a lot of businesses going at the moment, and before I even get the domain name for the website or register the business, I've got my exit strategy. Whether it's going to be a lose-lose exit strategy or a sell, make profit exit strategy, but you've got to have a strategy. Otherwise, again, you're not doing yourself any justice at all.
Well, looking back throughout the years, or even now, what do you think your major challenges were?
Not so much major, but issues along the way have been acceptance. And I hate to harp on about being of colour, but I do feel I've got lots of references that I can make to being a very senior architect in one of the, in fact, the largest architectural firm in the world, and turn up at a meeting and wait in reception for somebody who was waiting for me in the same reception, who I'd spoken to on the telephone on numerous occasions, but not realising that I was of colour. So he was sat there waiting for Nigel Ryan to turn up, well-spoken Nigel Ryan, who I guess he assumed was not of colour, and I wasted 3/4 of an hour waiting for this person to turn up, him waiting for me to turn up, until he asked the guy at reception whether he'd seen a Nigel Ryan turn up. In fact, I'd been standing next to him for the last 3/4 of an hour. And that's just one silly example of something I think is slightly disconcerting, because I think people need to get over the fact that colour is just a colour. It's not that important, and if you can do the job, if you're intelligent, if you can string two words together, if you can do what you're paid to do, or you're expected to do, or what people expect you to do, then I don't see what the colour issue is all about. So I think what I'd say to people is get over the colour thing. It's got to be obviously I'm proud of my colour, but I think get over it in the workplace, get over it in the marketplace, get over it, and let's just move forward. Especially in this environment where we're all suffering, it's a tough time. Let's put it behind us and try and work together and see how we can move forward as a team.
Okay, what would you say was one of your greatest achievements?
My children. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Very simple. My children.
That's lovely. I'm sure when they watch this back, they'll be happy to hear that.
Well, I hope so. I'm very proud of them.
Do you have any plans for the future?
Plans for the future? Well, I've got this visit to the palace coming up, which I'm very excited about. I'm not sure if there are any knighthoods on the horizon, but I'm hoping I can meet some interesting people there and talk to Prince Charles about some projects I've got in the offing that I think might be good for some of his charities, and I don't know, just onwards and upwards, really. There's plenty of time to do lots of things. Working on joint ventures with my children, friends, associates. I think the future's bright. I don't care what anyone says, recession or not. I think at times like this sort them out from the boys, and I like to regard myself as a very proud black man who is going places.
That's excellent. Right. You mentioned you recently got an invitation. How did this come about?
That basically came about because of my work through the High Commission for St Lucia. I mentioned earlier on that I promote St Lucian artists in the UK and in St Lucia, and I think the work has basically been recognised because it has had a lot of impact on the artists.
Yeah. For
example, Derek Walcott being one. I've worked on launching some of his work at the High Commission, and another St Lucian artist who I've promoted has recently won the Caribbean Laureate Award for Literature. Another one has just won the Bocas Award for Literature in Guadeloupe. I think it's basically recognition for the work I've done promoting British Caribbean artists.
That's great, isn't it, though?
Well,
get an invitation like that.
It makes me feel very proud because it makes me feel that what I'm doing has been worth doing. Because if I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it, and I think if I don't do it or nobody else does it, then it just gets lost, and that'd be a travesty.
Seeing that you're involved in so many things and you're doing so many things, how do you relax?
I do like nice wine, and I do like.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, I do like nice wine, and I have to say I relax while working. I love coming up with new ideas. I love developing them. I love the challenge of finding ways to make them work, and I find that relaxing. I really do.
What about listening to music?
Music is a given. That to me is a given. I do that any time of day. Painting is another way of relaxing. Although I don't get as much time as I used to, but I do like to paint. Music. I mean, those to me are obvious things, but I just find I actually enjoy work, and that relaxes me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can see that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about the projects you're involved with?
Okay, well, so Creative Reach is a creative consultancy, and what we do is we develop concepts that we hope, all our concepts are art and culture based. So we look at ideas, we develop them, and generally speaking, because of all our backgrounds, they all have that sort of base. And there are a couple of projects in particular. One is the Grove Garden project, and Grove Garden is a local garden that was actually bequeathed to the community by an elderly widow who was fairly wealthy, and after she died, it was turned into a trust. the trustees decided they couldn't really manage it, so they approached us and asked us if we'd be interested in doing something with this garden. It's a huge garden in the middle of the town, and because of the background we have, we thought it'd be a perfect project to develop a venue, an urban venue. And so one of the things, or quite a few things we're planning to do, is to open it up to children, to the elderly, have poetry readings, gardening lessons, sculpture exhibitions, all manner of artistic and cultural and leisure projects at this garden, which is quite a unique concept for anywhere as far as we can tell. So that's one of the projects we're looking at. The other thing is art on the line, which is something I think I touched on earlier on, which is to develop the concept of artwork on platforms and in waiting rooms, in ticket concourses and so on. So we've got an arrangement with Southern Rail, and that should be launching within a month. So that's very exciting. The other thing we're doing is working with a southeast leisure company who have nearly 50 venues in the southeast, and we've persuaded them to incorporate small art gallery situations within their membership lounge spaces. And we launched the first one last month, and we've identified maybe 22 of their venues where we can follow the same principle through. So it's that sort of variation and level of project that we work on.
Yeah.
The other thing, our big project locally is to try and develop Haywards Heath, which is in mid-Sussex, as a creative hub for Sussex. And the way we hope to achieve that is by all those small projects and linking them all up. Because at the moment there's no theatre, there's no cinema, there's no art gallery, there's not even a nightclub in Haywards Heath. So the idea for us is to shift that emphasis from having nothing to having probably more than one can manage in terms of the arts and culture and entertainment, the garden, and so on.
Excellent. So does everyone go to Brighton then?
Everyone goes to Brighton, and sadly, it's not just an art and cultural thing; it's an economic consideration, because with everyone going to Brighton, everyone going to London, everyone going to even Crawley, which isn't far from us, we're actually losing out. This is a very wealthy part of the southeast, probably one of the most wealthy parts of the southeast. But because it's a commuter town, people don't spend a lot of time locally. They will work in the city, come back and go to their piles in the villages, and then they'll go back to the city. But when they want to enjoy anything, they'll go to Brighton, the Brighton Festival, they'll go to London, to the theatre, but nothing locally. So we hope, again, my favourite term, redress the balance. We want to redress the balance of what is on offer or not on offer, as the case may be, locally.
Okay. Anyway, Nigel, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
For giving me an insight into your life.
Thank you very much. This is Nigel Ryan on 5eyes.tv.